Hello, my name is Robert Larson. I'm the owner of the Larson Law Office in Mesa, Arizona. I specialize primarily in family law and estate planning. And when it comes to the family law side of things, I help a lot of people through divorces. And so I have a lot of experience seeing people go through that process. And one of the most difficult parts of a divorce is the very beginning part. And that is the part from the time that people separate until they finally get some court orders in place. So at the end of the divorce process, you end up with a divorce decree, and that's going to be a document that is filed in the court, and it tells both parties what their rights and responsibilities are with regards to their children, with regards to their property and debts, and other obligations like possibly spousal maintenance or who's going to pay for their legal fees and things like that. So you have a final divorce decree, and it tells you all those things. And that can take many months, sometimes even more than a year. And so a lot of times people end up going to court before that for temporary orders. So if you can't wait 6 months or 8 months or a year to get your final divorce decree before you get some order in place, you have the right to file a motion for temporary orders. And that forces the court to get you in court for a quick hearing. And right now the law is that they have to get you in front of a judge within 60 days at a hearing called an evidentiary hearing, which means that's one where you're going to testify and present evidence and make your arguments. And then the judge has to make a decision on temporary orders. So whether that's temporary support like child support or spousal maintenance, or temporary parenting schedules or decision-making rights, they have to get you in within 60 days and make decisions on those things. And that allows you to go through the divorce process with some order in place. You know what your financial responsibilities are, you know what your parenting schedules are and your responsibilities as far as that goes. And so that helps you get through the whatever number of months that are required to get your divorce finalized and get your final decree. However, what is often the most difficult is those first few months, like I said at the beginning, from the time that people separate until they get at least some kind of temporary orders in place. What are you supposed to do? Who's supposed to pay money to each other, or is either parent supposed to pay money to each other? Who's supposed to pay your bills? There's either a mortgage or rent or utilities and car insurance and different things like that. So even if you've moved into different homes, you still have some joint expenses that need to be paid. And so it's not really clear who's supposed to do that. And then also, again, parenting schedules and decision making about your children. And what I usually refer to that as that's no man's land. Nobody really knows exactly what you're supposed to do because you don't have any court orders in place. The law isn't exactly clear on what is supposed to happen during that period of time. But here's what will happen. Eventually, you'll either come to agreements and work these things out, or the other option is you will end up in front of a judge at some point. Like I said, you may end up in front of a judge sooner than later for temporary orders, or later on, maybe many months down the road for a final trial. You'll end up in front of a judge, and that judge will want to know that the two of you were reasonable with each other. So when it comes to paying money for child support or spousal maintenance, or paying the bills like rent, mortgage, car payments, etc., the judge will want to see that both parties are being reasonable with each other. And this applies to non-divorce situations like custody cases. So much of this applies as well. Not all of it, but the general principle does apply for whether it's a divorce or a custody case. The judge wants to see that people are trying to do what's right for each other, and especially doing what's right for their children if they have children. So that's really the key. And so you want to make sure your bills are getting paid, and you want to make sure that you're not doing things that would make life unreasonably difficult for the other party. The judge wants to see the people working together and doing the best they can in a difficult situation, because that is the most difficult. You're going from one household to two households, and for most people there's not enough money to go around in the short term. And the long term, things usually work out and people make adjustments and make arrangements. Sometimes people end up moving in with family short term to help out. But whatever it is, like I said, the judge will want to see that both parties are being reasonable with each other, and that's never going to hurt you. Sometimes people are worried that they're being taken advantage of. But if you have to go in front of a judge sometime and the judge sees that you were generous and reasonable during that period of time, the judge is going to recognize that, and that's going to give you a stronger argument for whatever it is you're asking for in the future. So anyway, the specific details of it, have to be worked out on a case-by-case basis. And like I said, sometimes there's not enough money to go around for everything you want to do, so you have to just do the best you can in the short term to get through it, and eventually get some court orders in place that make things more clear and more established. But in the meantime, you just do the best you can. You get through that no man's land period as best as possible, and get to the point where you have court orders in place. Give yourself time to make adjustments and things like that. But you just want to be reasonable with each other and try to be good to each other, and the judge will recognize that if you end up in front of a judge at some point. And it also helps the two of you to be able to settle things so that maybe you don't have to end up in front of a judge. One of the benefits of being reasonable and generous with your ex is that it makes it easier to settle things. When people are trying to do things to hurt the other party, it makes it hard to settle cases. So anyway, that's just something I was thinking about. I see that a lot, and it's one of the most difficult parts of the divorce process. But so I just thought I'd mention that. If you have any questions about this or anything else, feel free to call my office. I appreciate it if you like the video or share it with anyone if you found it helpful, and subscribe so you can get more.